Darth Jar Jar. This theory is probably the most well-known Star Wars theory, and today we are going to debunk it, whether it's true or if it's fake. Our first piece of evidence is very simple. We clearly see in The Phantom Menace that Darth Jar Jar, well, at this point, Jar Jar Binks, can jump a good 10 feet in the air and do a perfect front flip, something that only Force users we have experienced doing. Our next piece of evidence is that George Lucas said that Jar Jar Binks was his favorite character, or at least one of them, after The Phantom Menace released. Now he scoffs at the idea of him being a Sith Lord, but we have to assume that he was going to be a Sith Lord at one point. That was almost confirmed, actually. Our next piece of evidence comes with LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. In the first movie, we see Yoda talking to Mace Windu. I believe it's Mace Windu, at least. I don't really remember, but about how there was always a master and apprentice for the Sith. When he looks at the master, he just gazes over at a random Gungan, like, nah, not a care in the world. But when he does the apprentice, he kind of, like, is angry. And you want to know who he was looking at? You want to take a guess? Yeah, Jar Jar Binks. We also have another piece of evidence here, and it's pretty good. It also comes from LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. But when we go to Exegol, we clearly see that there are tanks. A lot of the tanks have Snoke's in them. One of them has Luke's hand from Episode 5 in it. But you want to know what one of the tanks had in it? Jar Jar Binks. Another good piece of evidence is the fact that Jar Jar Binks literally gives emergency powers to Chancellor Palpatine, basically giving him all the power in the Republic. That is a major thing that stopped me when trying to debunk this theory. It's like, it has to be. We are almost done, but we have a few more pieces of evidence. One piece of evidence that we have is how in one of the canon comic books, Jar Jar Binks wields a blue lightsaber. Though he's not a Jedi, he did use it. Now we're getting into the speculation part. This part really goes beyond what we used to say in the previous part of the video, but what we're saying is how we know he is a Sith Lord. You might be thinking, wait, he was exiled. What happens if you wanted to be exiled? Maybe he crashed the bongo on purpose because he didn't want Boss Nass to know that he was a Sith Lord. This might be a stretch, but it has a point. He could practice his dark arts away from Boss Nass. And while he did come back to Oda Gunga, he was later exiled again. Does this have any resemblance to, I don't know, basically any bad guy story? Now we have to get to the part where we have to decipher all these clues to make sure if Darth Jar Jar is real or fake. First, we have to go to the part where we have bad evidence, really. How George Lucas scoffs at the idea of Darth Jar Jar. He's not the owner of Star Wars anymore. Disney is. Another thing is how we clearly see that Darth Jar Jar is exiled. But again, there may be speculation. Well, there is speculation, and there may be proof that he's trying to practice his arts away from the Gungans. But this may be the most compelling piece of evidence. This could be proof. In the Senate scene, Darth Jar Jar Yes, I personally think it is, but we need evidence. When he's telling the people to give emergency powers to Chancellor Palpatine, his hands are open, as if he was using the Force on them to persuade them. With this evidence, and lack of evidence too, I guess, we have came to a decision here at GSLM. With the evidence we have, but also how George Lucas scoffed at the idea of Darth Jar Jar, we have to assume that Darth Jar Jar is true. Yes, Darth Jar Jar is real. Even though George Lucas scoffs at the idea of it, the fact that Disney now owns it and that TT Games basically confirmed it in their game gives us the truth, really. Darth Jar Jar is true. Now, you may be a hater, but we have more theories for you. Whew. Okay. Our next theory is if Mace Windu survived the fall. Now, if we reach 10 likes, I will release that video. But remember, 10 likes, and I'm gonna need 30 subscribers by then. Okay? So tell your friends, like it, subscribe, and trust me, this video about Mace Windu will happen. Thank you guys for watching. It's been Jamie. Like and subscribe. Peace out. Just a warning, well, not really warning, but all of these photos were taken off the web, not for copyright purposes, but to educate you guys on Darth Jar Jar. Please, YouTube, I only did it for educational purposes, not for my own satisfaction.